In honor of Mental Health Awareness Month, WAOK and the Mental Space presents the series, The Mind Matters, with Dr. Adrienne. This series will delve into the evolving landscape of mental health, focusing on how individuals and communities can navigate the challenges and find support in uncertain times.
College athletes face unique challenges that can impact their mental health, including academic pressures, intense training schedules, competition stress, and public scrutiny. It's important to consider factors like support systems, stigma, coping strategies, and institutional policies when we talk about mental health and college athletes. I am Dr. Adrienne, and this is Mind Matters with Dr. Adrienne. Where to start? Mental health in a challenging world. Thank you for joining me for the second series in this Mental Health Awareness Month series. And so joining me today, I have three student athletes from Georgia State University, who will introduce themselves as we delve into this conversation about what it's like to be a student athlete in this day and time and the pressures associated with sustaining good mental health. So,
hi, everyone. My name is Jada McBean. I'm from Kingston, Jamaica. I'm studying political science at Georgia State University. I'm currently a senior. I'm about to graduate real soon. So that's all about me.
Okay. Welcome, Jada. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
Hi, my name is Naya Brown. I'm from Clearwater, Florida. I'm studying sociology at Georgia State University. I run track, and I'm an entrepreneur as well.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Blake Blakemore. I'm from Knoxville, Tennessee. I'm studying psychology. I'm also on the Georgia State track team, and I'm also a senior as well.
All right. Thank you, ladies, for being here. So this is going to be a very relaxed conversation. So I want you all to just woosah and relax, because we are talking about mental health. But I would imagine as an athlete, there is added pressure because you have to keep up with your academics. And then you've got your schedule to train. And then you've got your social life because you got to party and have a good time and find the balance. So how do you find the balance so that you can maintain your mental health?
Well, as for me personally, so throughout the weeks, I try to do all my assignments from Monday to Thursday, so that on Friday I can have the time to turn up and not feel too bad. And then on Saturday, I also, whatever my teammates plan on doing, I also try to go out and have fun and not happen to worry about, I need to finish my assignments and stuff like that. So.
Okay. So Monday through Thursday, you just try to structure yourself so that you can enjoy the weekend. Okay. Yeah. Sounds like a good plan.
Yeah, I think it's about really just planning everything out and just having a planner and making sure you get everything done, because being a student athlete to me is really what you make it. You can either let it make you or break you. But if you don't have a structured schedule every day, it can really swallow you up. And it really just helps to write everything down. And I know my practice schedule, I get out of practice by 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock every day. So by 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, once practice is done, if I don't have assignments to do, I can go enjoy my life. And it's about taking the time off to go and enjoy your life. Don't trap yourself inside and just be in bed all day, because that's when stuff can that's when being a student athlete can start becoming miserable. So it's just about making the most out of your time.
Yeah, finding the balance so that you can enjoy life as a student. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah. She took the words out of my mouth.
She took the words out of your mouth. So I'm sure that you all have experienced teammates or other athletes who don't find the balance, who might do a little bit too much partying and not enough work, or not practice as much. And I think the turning up part is the hardest part, because I went to FAMU. And so I used to always tell my students who would say, I want to go to FAMU. I said, listen, let me tell you something about FAMU. You can find a party every night, and on Sunday night you can find 3 or 4. So you have to have discipline yourself in order to go there and remember what the purpose is for you being there. So when you have teammates that you think are not balancing it as well, do you offer them suggestions, or do you just say, yeah, no, that ain't me, I ain't gonna get into that, I'm gonna let them figure it out themselves?
Well, I think like our team as a whole does pretty well with holding each other accountable. Like we don't really have anybody that's just wild and you know, because the thing is like our season starts around like January through May or June or July, depending on how long you make it. So like fall, we give ourselves that break that like, yes, we can go out, we can party a little bit more, but I think that as a team, like when the season starts, like we cut all that partying out. Like I feel like we just all have an understanding together, but I mean, we can't speak for other teams and stuff like that. But
but so as a whole, you feel like your track team does a pretty good job?
For sure.
My goddaughter ran track for Clemson. And she's been out of school probably, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. But throughout her life, her goal was to go to the Olympics. And, I mean, she trained hard and she went on a scholarship to Clemson. But by the second year at Clemson, she said she had lost her love for track. And she said that it was different. And we were so shocked because we were like, no, you're supposed to be going to the Olympics. This is what you've said your entire life. But she felt like the pressure from the coaches took the fun out of participating in track. And so everybody's shaking their head. And so I want you to speak to that. How does that happen, especially if you have a dream to take it to another level? Because I never quite understood what she meant when she said she lost her love for track.
I can speak for myself, but I remember coming in freshman year, I did love track, but it comes down to the coaches because sometimes they have a lot on the line, like their jobs and their reputation. And if you're a well-rounded athlete and you can do a lot, they'll put you in everything and not really pay attention to like the event that you may want to do or excel at. They'll just put you in everything and not really try to build that relationship with you as well or really appreciate you as a person. They're just looking at you as just an athlete. That's it.
That has to be tough. Look, when you talk about your mental health, that has to be tough because everybody wants to be seen, but you want to be seen for who you are and what it is you're trying to develop and do, not just what somebody else thinks you'd be good at.
Exactly.
Now, you were shaking your head.
What was I going to say?
Losing the love of the sport. You know, that's what my goddaughter said. She said she lost the love of it.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, it's different for everybody, but when I think about, because I had went through a time where I really wasn't liking running track. Like I hated waking up in the morning, having to go to practice. I think it was because it became like so repetitive. Like when you're doing it for 4 years, waking up at 7 a.m., going to weights, going straight to practice for 4 years straight. Well, for me it's 3, but for 4 years straight, like when it becomes repetitive, it kind of, how do I put it?
Is it the routine of it that it was? Was it too structured or?
I mean,
because look, what you all do is similar to when you have a job. You know, you got to wake up at a certain time, you got to get there, you have to do these certain things. And so, was it different in high school from when you go to the next level of college?
Yes, and I feel like it's about like the repetitiveness about it really kind of got to me, and I think it's just about finding that spark like in the sport, especially when, like, for me, these past 2 years, my freshman and sophomore year, I wasn't hitting the marks that I needed to make, and like I wasn't performing well. So that can also like take a toll on your mental health.
Yeah.
And like you wanting to run track. So it's like, it's just about making sure you have that spark and remembering why you're here in the first place. And your coaches play a huge part in that as well. Like your coach is there to not only be your coach, but your mentor, your supporter. Like you're not around your family, you're away from college, you're away from home. So I think it's just about like knowing why you're there and having a reason to wake up and do the same thing every single day of the week.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
yeah.
I get that. Okay. Jada?
Well, like Naya said, injuries, they definitely play a big part as to why you would lose your love for track and field. But also, it goes down to the environment that you're in. So being on like an all-girls team,
Yeah.
you know, it can really drain the life out of you sometimes.
Yeah, I was going to ask y'all about that.
You know, everyone has their own personality. Sometimes the personalities clash and stuff like that. And then, or coaches, I don't think they really know how to like navigate around the way we move. So I feel like that also plays a big part as to why we lose the love for it. We're just tired. We're just drained. We're ready to be done and get away from the environment.
Do you think it would be different if you had a female coach versus a male coach?
Have
So do you think it's a gender thing? Do you think it's a gender thing?
A woman coach before?
My mom.
No.
Okay, so you've been coached by your mom before.
But
So do
I
you
like
think
having a
there's a
male
different
coach.
level of understanding? Because I would imagine as a female athlete and you have a male coach, if you are, experiencing something that is relative to females, for example, our time of the month, and you cramping or they may not have a full understanding of what we're going through because they've not experienced it.
I think I think it's just about knowing how to be a coach. Like, because my dad was my coach my whole life, and he knows how to work with women and understand them. It's just about like, does the coach want to
understand?
Yeah, does he want to understand? Like, take the time to really
exactly.
And that's where things start to get like, that's where things.
Like that's where the disconnect comes.
Yeah,
from.
the disconnect. Yeah,
disconnect.
exactly. Because I've come across coaches that don't care. Like, they don't care if. Yeah.
Sometimes people need to be called out. I mean, because sometimes people don't grow because nobody holds them accountable. You know what I mean? If everybody continues to sweep everything under the rug, then where's the opportunity for growth for that person? Because if you're the leader of the team, you should be able to take constructive feedback. And a lot of people can't. They don't want to hear it because they think the buck stops with them. They think that they're it. Yeah. All right, we're going to switch this conversation to NILs here. Leo, we're going to switch gears here. No, but I do want to ask you all this. So is there a particular department for athletes to deal with mental health? Do you all have somewhere that you can go on campus to have conversations?
There's like what's it called? A psychologist on campus, but not specifically for athletes, but it's for all the students.
Oh, we did have that one. We had a psychologist come, but
She's like a grad student.
The lady that
she's a grad student.
She was a student. Oh,
she in grad school.
Well, yes,
So
we
she's
had
in
somebody
training.
come, but I met with her twice, and like, you can tell, like, when it comes to mental health, like how serious they take mental health in sports, like they really like. I feel like she was only there so that they can say they did it. Like, because when I really met with her, like, it was cool and all, but it just didn't feel like she was taking me serious. And then we had set a date for the next meeting, and I never heard anything from her.
Okay.
So, like, if that was somebody that was really going through something mentally, that could have been like the last, thing.
That could be problematic.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I just feel like mental health, like, it needs to be taken so much more serious, because I know I have been at the lowest point that I've ever been in my life. here in Atlanta, Georgia. Like, it just has to be taken more serious. And if you don't have that support system at home, because I know the only reason why I am here right now is because of my support system back home.
Right.
But I know some people don't have that. Like,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, they come to school because they want to better themselves, and they're trying to get away from home because that wasn't the ideal situation for them. And so if I don't have the support at home and then I come to school and I don't have the support, then you can hit a very low point in your life. You know, I think that you all's generation is having more conversation about mental health. And so, you know, I always tell people I was one of the first Black females licensed in the state of Georgia as a therapist. So I've been doing this work for almost 33 years. But the conversations were not happening about mental health. There was still too much stigma attached to talking about mental health because the first thing people say is, oh, you crazy. And so when people sit down with me and they say, oh, Dr. Adrienne, I'm not crazy, I said, that's good because I don't do crazy. I'm glad you're not crazy because you don't have to be crazy to be going through something, which is what mental health is. It's about emotionally and mentally something that you may be going through that you need to be working on. And so it's as simple as that. But I think a lot of times it's so misunderstood. But your generation is doing a much better job of saying, no, I need a break. I listen, because y'all will take a break. Y'all will take a mental health break in a minute. I need to unplug for a minute. You all are doing a better job of recognizing who is good in your life and who is not good in your life. Jada said something about an all-female team. Because, ooh. So I am actually leading a discussion next week as a part of this series with a group of women to talk about how women don't support each other. They don't know what the conversation is going to be, but they're going to find out when they get in here because a lot of times we don't support each other as women. And so I would imagine being on a track team full of women, what happens when the hate shows up? Because the haterade can be real. Which is something I didn't really understand because I'm not that type of person. And so it bothers me when I see people gossiping, trying to tear people down, trying to backbite. Like, that really bothers me. So how do you all deal with that? Because human nature is you're not going to like everybody and everybody's not going to like you. That's real. So how do you deal with being amongst individuals that you might be like oil and water with?
I ignore them.
You ignore them?
Yeah. I ignore them. I don't really care, to be honest, because at the end of the day, they don't dictate my money, how I run, or you just can't let them control how you feel, because at the end of the day, if you let them control you, then, I mean.
But do you feel like that's something that's always been a part of you? Because that's just not everybody's personality. I grew up with a daddy who said, you know, somebody don't like you. I mean, he said some really colorful things that I can't repeat on camera. But he would say basically, if somebody doesn't like you, that's their problem. That's not your problem. Everybody wasn't raised that way. Right. And so some people take what other people say about them, and it's very difficult for them to move past something that somebody has said about them that's negative. Yeah,
for sure.
Everybody doesn't have that spirit of, well, I'm just not going to worry about what they said about me. Sometimes people say some things about you and you walk away like, is that really who I am? Is that, you know, and it makes you second guess yourself.
Yeah, I feel like I just really had that aha moment when I was in high school. Because I didn't really like the people in my high school. All I realized was they all just talk about each other. But I was like, dang, like, why are y'all talking about each other? It's really getting old. It's childish. And I just knew that one thing I was going to work on when I came to college was just focusing on me, myself, and I, and trying to just be a better person.
Yeah.
Because I know that when people do talk about you, it can affect your mental health. And I did have very low points when I was in high school, and I just told myself I would never want to get like that again. And I also tried to, you know, uplift other people around me all the time. Just come to practice with a smile on my face, even though everybody might be
just being positive.
Yep, all the time.
Yeah,
it's just the best way to be.
One thing that I had to learn was, I mean, my dad told me this, like, because when I came to college, I thought that everybody on the team had to be my friend, and at the end of the day, they're not your friends. Like, everybody on the team doesn't have to be your friend. They're your teammates.
Right.
Like, and I had to differentiate between my teammates and my friends.
Yeah.
And that's really when I realized, like, okay, like, don't let certain things phase you. Like, and that's one thing that Blake is really good at, because no matter, like, how many girls may talk behind her back or whatever, she always just doesn't let it get to her. And if anybody knows me, like, I'll let it get to me and I will take it to the grave and just let that ruin my whole day and just be miserable. But lately I've just been focusing on me.
Yeah,
like,
right.
You literally can't control what anybody else is going to say about you, because one thing I learned, that half of the girls on the team, the things that come out their mouth is insecurities that's really inside of them.
Absolutely.
Like, so when you just start focusing on yourself and performing how you need to perform to the level that you need to perform, you'll be good. Like, yeah.
You know, it's important that people understand that self-esteem starts with self for a reason. But from the time we're young, we're conditioned to believe what it is that people say about us. If you think back to when you were in kindergarten getting marks on your paper, you knew that smiley face, you learned early on, oh, that smiley face means I did good. But boy, if you got that sad face, that meant uh-oh. And don't let it be in red, right? And so because of something as simple as that, it teaches us that other people get to grade us. And so you have to get to a point in life where you understand that, you know what, I know who I am. My opinion of me is what matters. How I conduct myself is what's important. The things that I'm doing at the end of every day, asking myself, was I my best self today? So somebody over here has been reading the 4 agreements, and I can hear it coming out in what she is saying. So very, very proud of that. I want to ask you all your opinion about these NILs. And so I wrote that name, image, and likeness agreements have given college athletes opportunities to earn money through endorsements, sponsorships, and commercial ventures. So what is your opinion about NILs? Because I would imagine as an athlete, you feel like, yeah, somebody should be paying me to do what I do.
For sure. Jada, do you want to say?
NIL, I don't completely understand it, because I've been told as an international student, I can't get NIL deals, it doesn't apply to me, which I think is
Who
dumb.
told you that?
The people in the athletic department. When we have
At
meetings.
your school?
Yeah.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
That seems discriminatory.
It is. So when they have like NIL meetings and stuff, I just I don't want to go, but it's mandatory, so we have to go. So I just tune it out or be on my phone or something, because it doesn't apply to me and the other international students.
Have you asked anybody else? I'm just wondering. Because I don't understand. If you are a student athlete and if you are competing for, if you are a student athlete and you are competing for your school, why shouldn't you have the same right to earn sponsorship and money as everybody else on the team? What difference does it make that you're from another country?
I don't know, and I don't understand, but I did ask one of my friends. He goes to school at Arkansas, University of Arkansas, and I was like, do you have that opportunity to get NIL deals? And he's like, no, Jada, we can't get that as international students. So it's the same thing that they're telling me here, they're telling him as well. So
wow.
Yeah.
And see, I'm the type of person, Jada, that believes that every time there's a problem, there's an opportunity. Because that makes absolutely no sense to me. Usain Bolt is one of the fastest men alive. He came from a whole nother country.
Yeah.
And so he has all sorts of endorsements that came from companies sponsored out of the United States. And so why shouldn't an international student have the same opportunity? So, Miss Political Science major, there might be an opportunity for you there. What do you want to do after you graduate?
Well, I'm trying to go to law school.
I knew that's what you were going to say. I had a double major in criminal justice and political science, so I figured you were going to say law school. So out of every problem, there is opportunity. And so maybe you're supposed to be the one that finds the answer because it had a direct impact on you. So see, I'm just somebody that believes that the things that we go through, they're not about us. And so you may not have had the opportunity for an NIL deal, but maybe who you become as Attorney Jada in the future will give you an opportunity to fight for some other students. Okay. Yeah. All righty. The NIL. What are y'all's thoughts on the NIL?
Honestly, when it comes to NIL, anything, I just feel like NIL was really put in place for the athletes that have blue checks on Instagram.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
13,000 followers, 20,000 followers.
I'm sorry, what's a blue check on Instagram?
Like, it means like you're verified. Like, that's actually you, I guess.
Oh.
Like, I don't know.
Okay, I don't know if my check is blue or not. So, because when you said a blue check, I thought you meant like money to be deposited in the bank. Okay.
Hello.
Okay.
But I don't know. I never really paid much attention to NIL because I feel like it was just put in place for, a certain ranking of the athlete. And if you're not in that rank, like, you're not going to be getting the type of endorsements that you really, that is worth your time. Like, we have some teammates that they'll do NIL deals with like protein shake brands and stuff like that, little small ones that they get paid like $100 or $200. But I just feel like some of it, like a lot of it just isn't worth it. Like, I feel like you gain trust with your audience and your following when you advertise things that you actually use. Like, when I see like my teammates or something like that, or anybody in general, TikTokers, YouTubers advertising everything and anything, I don't trust your word. Right. So you have to kind of separate yourself and know that all money isn't good money. So like, if I'm not getting paid a certain amount, it's no point. And it's a part of your name. Exactly.
It gets attached to your reputation.
Exactly.
And so I think that's the part that you have to be careful about when you talk about an NIL. To your point, all money is not good money. My daddy says that all of the time. If somebody wants you to advertise their product, but it's not something that you believe in, then do you compromise your integrity for the sake of the check?
No.
And if the check ain't big enough,
$100, like, nah.
That's not real money. That's not worth your integrity.
It's not.
Yeah.
And like when the audience sees that, it's like, okay, I'm gonna just keep scrolling past it because I see you post 5 different brands every month. Like, it doesn't really mean anything, but it's like, okay, if I get paid a certain amount for something that I truly use and I post that, the people are there, it's going to catch their attention because I've never done anything like that. So I just think that the NIL deals, like, it's not worth it for
certain people.
For certain people.
I think that the idea behind it was because, especially at your larger, your D1 schools, you had boosters who were buying cars and buying houses and depositing money and that kind of stuff, and it was not legal to do it. So I think that the thought process behind NILs was, how do we help the athletes in a way so that it is legal?
Yeah, but I've definitely seen NIL do good for other people. Yeah, like football players, they get NIL deals with car dealerships and stuff like that, and as they should, because their name, they're putting this brand on the map. So they deserve it. But for the athletes that have, lesser status, it doesn't really do much for us.
And so guess what? Where there's a problem, there's an opportunity. Because it just seems like if the goal of an NIL is to help support the athletes who are out here as the face of the university, then there should be compensation. And so it should be compensation for all athletes. And so maybe the restructuring can be, how do we make sure that all athletes get compensated something, even though there may be different tiers, but everybody deserves something because they're a part of this.
Yes, I agree.
Okay.
I agree.
All right, Blake, what's your opinion about these NILs?
Just like Naya was saying, I feel like it's for people with verified checks and
I got to go look at these verified checks that y'all talking about. 'Cause I'm like, what in the world?
You've seen it on Instagram, people with the blue checks next to their name.
No,
Like
I
the
never
tick?
paid it. I didn't pay it any attention. Okay, yeah. Listen, I will definitely go back and look. But while Blake is getting, are you okay? What's wrong, baby?
talking a little bit.
Okay. All right. We almost finished. I'm like, all right, now don't pass out on me. Because I almost did last week doing the show. But even that, so verified checks, right? When we talk about mental health, one of the things that I think is difficult is this endorsement by other people of who you are. Like, who the heck gives you a verified check? Like, how do you get a verified check? And what's the difference between this person that has a verified check and somebody that doesn't? So I'm just trying to understand, because in this time period where we're talking about mental health and we're talking about awareness and self-esteem and how to feel like you are enough and how to feel like I can validate myself. But when you talk about a blue verified check that I have totally missed, I got to go and look for this. How does that play into a person's mental health that doesn't have a blue verified check, that wants a blue verified check? Like, what do you have to do to get the blue verified check?
I don't really know what you have to do, because my brother.
What you do?
Honestly, my brother has one, and his following is. I feel like it was a point in time all you had to do was be on a D1 football team, and you got a blue check. Yeah. But nowadays you can buy blue checks. You can pay monthly for a blue check.
No, not buy the blue check. That sounds crazy.
And so people buy the blue checks to look like they're at that status. Yeah. To fit in.
Do it.
And they didn't really. They're buying
earn the blue check.
Exactly. But it's like, at the same time, like, to go back to when you were talking about mental health, like, one thing about being in the city of Atlanta, I learned going to school here, was that people do anything to make it look good, like, from the outside, like, anything. Like, they'll spend their last dime to make themselves look a certain way, and that's when things start to get a little shaky, because I'm from Florida. Like, people don't move like that where I'm from. Like, they're authentically themselves. They dress how they want to dress. They don't have to buy designer this, designer that to fit in. And coming from Florida here, it was definitely something I had to adjust to, because I found myself kind of getting into that mindset that I had to look a certain way. And, like, if you don't, or you don't have the money to do so, that's when, like, your mental health can start to take a toll, because, like, why can't I have this? Like, it doesn't feel good. I
think that what you say is important, because I remember when I went to FAMU, my upbringing was different. From Tuskegee, Alabama, I was an only child. And so I was all my parents had to worry about. And so I used to have people that would say to me, "Oh, you're spoiled." And I was like, "What do you mean? I don't understand. What do you mean that I'm spoiled?" And they were like, "Oh, well, you have this and you have that." And I said, "But that doesn't make me spoiled. That means that I'm privileged enough that my parents could get me certain things, because those things don't define who I am. They don't dictate how I treat people." And I was the kind of person that I still am. Somebody will say, "Oh, I like that so-and-so." And I'm like, "Okay, here you go." And they're like, "Oh my God, you're really going to give me this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, now it depends on what it is. Now, let's be real now. It depends on what it is, but it's just stuff, right?" But I think that, to Naya's point, in Atlanta, I did one of the Real Relationship with Dr. Adrienne shows a couple weeks ago. And there was a guy that called in who had moved here. He's in law enforcement. And he was talking about how hard it is to meet women here. And he was saying that it's like every woman that I meet wants to know when am I going to pay her bills and when am I going to... And I knew exactly what he meant. And I told him, I said, it's unfortunate. There are a lot of women in Atlanta that are that way. That whole mentality of reality shows in Atlanta, it's a lot. Yeah. And unfortunately, I think it's more people who are from here than people who are not from here in terms of the mindset. I think that a lot of times the people who have grown up here have a different type of mentality in terms of how they think they should be treated, what they think they should be wearing, that sort of thing. But Atlanta is really made up of more transplants than it is natives at this point. Or I think that there are a lot of transplants here. So I think that, but to your point, I remember when my oldest son was at Morehouse, and there was a young lady that he was interested in. And they are like best friends now. It's so ironic. She's married to a NFL football player. But her father owned the company that built the Indianapolis Colts Stadium. And so when he met her, she was driving like whatever the new series BMW was. And so he felt like he could not approach her because she just wasn't going to talk to him. He was like, she's not going to talk to me. And it bothered me that was what he thought, that because you don't have a certain thing or because she has a certain thing, that you don't feel like you're worthy of talking to her. Because that's what it boiled down to. Yeah. And so I think that a lot of times when we talk about mental health, especially among college students, you all are at such an age where you haven't lived enough life yet to know that I get to validate me. Yeah. And you're still, and especially with social media, man, y'all got it hard. Listen, when I told my baby, I said, I grew up in an era where we didn't have social media and computers. And he said, well, were you around with the dinosaurs? And I said, well, no, not quite with the dinosaurs, but I didn't have that as an issue. We didn't have to be worried about these cell phones and these likes and these, like, all of that. I'm so sick and tired of social media.
Me too.
I am tired of social media.
Me too.
It's boring. Yeah. Well, I think it gives you a false sense of reality. I always say that Facebook is where you go and lie to your friends, and Instagram is where you go and tell the truth to perfect strangers. Because it can, you can put something up there and then it's gone, so it's real quick. But Facebook, you go put up the biggest lies because you're trying to impress people who really don't care anything about you.
Yeah, and if you're not careful, like, that can really just take over your whole mind. Like, I've literally witnessed somebody spend their last at Neiman Marcus to put on some clothes to look good for the occasion later that day. Like, that was your last little bit of money,
right? And
you spent it at the mall. Like, that just shows that, like, if you're not careful and you don't have your mind, strong, if your mind isn't strong enough
right.
to know who you are truly and know who you are truly, then it can really take over your life. Like, and I think it's really about knowing, like, I feel like God plays a huge role in that as well, like in your relationship and your confidence with Him. Like, that plays a role.
Knowing who you are in Him.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get.
No, that's what you said. No, I'm agreeing with you. Knowing who you are in Him has a big part in how you see yourself and how you see yourself in the world. Yeah.
That's all.
And sometimes we waver with that. Yeah. So let me ask you all a question, since Naya brought that up. So in terms of spirituality, did you grow up going to church?
Yeah. My grandfather, he was a deacon in the church. So my mom, she automatically grew up in the church, and that brought me and my brother into the church. My dad, he wasn't that big of a spiritual person, but the older he became, my mom brought him into the church too, and he's now a spiritual person.
Because I think that when you go off to college and you get your freedom, I was raised Catholic. I went to Catholic school, and so in Catholic school, you go to Mass during the week, you go into Mass on the weekend, and I felt like I was churched out. And so when I went to college, I did not go to Mass when I was in Tallahassee. Now, when I would go home on the weekend, of course I went to Mass, and my father never asked me, are you going to Mass while you in school? He never asked me, and we never had the conversation, but I was not going because the freedom of being independent allowed me to make the decision to say whether or not I wanted to go, and I didn't want to go. And I think that happens with a lot of college students. But in terms of your spirituality and mental health, because I think that when you're raised in the church or when you are raised with certain beliefs, that's kind of what helps you maintain your mental wellness.
Yeah, it does.
And so, have you all been going since you came to college?
I don't go to church.
Yeah.
Me either.
Yeah.
But as a child, I went every day.
Yeah,
My dad was a reverend. So
Okay, Preacher's Kid. We just taped a series about church hurt before you all came in here. Yeah, and so they were preacher's kids, and so who have become preachers. But a lot of times I think preacher's kids say, yeah, no, I'm done. I don't want to do this.
I liked my church, though.
Yeah, and then because I'm not a preacher's kid, but my mom always forced me to go to church. And one thing I learned that it's not about going to church, and it's about having a real relationship with God. And
absolutely.
When I came to school my freshman and sophomore year, I ain't gonna lie, I was I didn't think not one time about God,
church,
God, praying, staying on top of anything. I was just kind of going wild a little bit, and it kind of took me to something that happened over this past summer to take me back down to my lowest point, and God had to remind, He put me there. He put me in that position.
He had tapped you on your shoulder. Hey, come on back over here, girl.
Exactly. And I had to remember that, He is the only one that can get you out of this season that you're in right now.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, my parents are around, but when I go to sleep at nighttime, it's nobody that can help me.
That's right. You and God. That's
in your relationship with Him. So that is just so important to me, and I know if it wasn't for God, I would not be here today. So it's about a relationship.
That really is a drop the mic moment. But I do have one final question that I wanted to ask you all because it's inspiring for me to hear you talking like that, because I can honestly say that I didn't get to that point in terms of seeking my own relationship with God until I was older, married with kids. When you start really going through some stuff, you start going through grown folk stuff, that you have to say, okay, God, excuse me, because growing up, even Catholic, we didn't have the Bible in the church. We didn't have a Bible. Everybody has a hymnal in every Catholic church around the world. Everybody's reading the same thing on the same day everywhere. No matter what language you speak, it doesn't matter. Every Catholic church is doing the same thing. So learning about God in a different way came through my experiences and having to seek Him out and having to pick up a Bible and find stuff for myself. Even reading some things in some other religious practices to say, okay, so I'm going to take a little bit of this on how you act and a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and then I'm going to form my own relationship with God. So I am proud to hear you saying this at your age, because that means that you've got some wisdom that a whole bunch of people didn't have when they were 21 years old.
Yeah.
So my last question to you all is, in terms of mental health, as a college student, what would you like to see your college and university, or any college and university, do more of to support students? What do you think needs to happen?
Well, I think they should get actual people that care about people's mental health and not trying to just hear somebody's business and then diagnose you and say you're crazy. Because I have a teammate, she has some mental health problems, and she went to see a a psychologist that's on campus. And I don't know what went down, but the psychologist was just like, you need to be checked into a mental institution. And like, that's not okay. And that, her telling me that, it only deters me from even going to see a psychologist or whatever, because the first thing that's coming to mind is that that's the same thing they might tell me. So I feel like colleges need to get actual people that care, and that's not just in the field for the money or trying to hear about your business.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's just about who you're hiring. Like, they need to do more with the hiring process or something, because it really comes down to the coaches. Like, having a coach that truly cares about you is something that can change your life. Like, if your coach doesn't care about you, and you know that your coach doesn't care about you, your mental health, like, it's not going to be good. So I think it's just about, like, hiring a good coach, having good coaches across the board. So.
Okay, I want to ask Blake, and then I have a follow-up question that I hope I'm going to remember to ask.
Like they said, I think they definitely should, hire someone that cares, but I think that along the student-athlete part, that they need to hire a psychologist that comes weekly to check in with the girls, and not just someone like Naya said, like she said, she was meeting with someone, and then fourth week comes around, she not answering the phone, she not,
that's problematic.
The other girls on the team also said that she did attend as well, so they actually need to, take stuff like this serious, because it can affect you on the track. Because I know a teammate of mine who mentally, she's just not there right now, and I talk to her like constantly, and I really do want to see her get better, but I mean.
So my follow-up question was going to be, is there a process in place where you all get to provide feedback about what you're experiencing?
Yeah, we do, but we know that there's retaliation if we speak up about it, so we really don't speak about it.
Well, I mean, even in terms of like the psychologist, for example, like that person has a supervisor, and so the work that we do is, like, I take my work very, very seriously, which is why, at this point, I'm on the back end of my career. But just as I listen to younger therapists and their mindset, sometimes I'm like, yeah, you're probably not the best person to be in this profession.
Right.
Because it is a helping profession. And so you have to care enough about people so that you don't, because the work that we do is so serious. Once you open up Pandora's box with somebody in terms of their trauma, their hurts, their emotions, their feelings, you can't just walk away and abandon that person. And so to hear that this person has done this to several people, I'm like, okay, who is the person that's in place that you all can have a conversation with, because there has to be a counseling department or something to say, listen, you all need to be aware that this is going on and this is not cool, because it could really hurt somebody. And if somebody really, really needs some help and support and they don't get it, they could hurt themselves or hurt somebody else.
That's what I said. That's why I was like, I really didn't appreciate when she did that. But honestly, since I've been here, I've just learned to take things like that to the chin and just keep it pushing. Like,
I'm going to need you to not take it to the chin, because out of every problem, there's opportunity. And so sometimes the opportunity is not about y'all. It's about somebody else coming by that's not going to be as strong as a Naya or a Blake or a Jada to be able to say, I got my friend, I can go over here and talk to her and I can push through it, plus I know God. What happens with the person who doesn't have any of that? Yeah. And so that's why you all have to use your voice, even when sometimes it doesn't feel comfortable.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's really kind of hard, because especially being on this team. So for example, like sometimes they would say stuff pertaining to your weight, and then they'll be like, okay, well, a solution to that is to see a nutritionist. So you see a nutritionist, and the nutritionist breaks down stuff that you're supposed to eat, and you're going through all that process. when you're thinking you're changing, like your weight is getting better or whatever, you have the coaches in your ear again saying, "Oh, you look a little big," stuff like that. So it's just a cycle that even when you try to find a solution, you still have that cycle going on where your mental health is.
It's like it's never enough.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's just. Take it to the chin and just keep it pushing. That's why I say, like, I mean, it's easy to say, like, go speak up and use your voice, but it's been plenty of times where if anybody knows me, like, on the team, I'm really the only one that has ever spoken up for myself. When it comes to the coach. Like, I've stood up to the coach before, and it didn't really end in anything good. Like, it's just better to be silenced, and that's what they want from the athletes, is for us to just be silent and just put up with it.
Well, hopefully, as an outgoing senior, you will find your voice and not be silent. And then next year, you will find your voice and not be silent. Because, y'all, I'm just a firm believer that you just don't get to sit back and just talk to people any kind of way, treat people any kind of way, and especially not when you're talking about college students or high school students and these teachers and these coaches. They have an obligation. Y'all didn't ask them to be in that role. They asked to be in that role. And so they have to be held accountable and responsible. But as long as nobody holds them accountable, they won't be. And they will continue to do the same stuff over and over and over again. So as outgoing seniors, I am charging you all with the responsibility to find your voice. Because I know Naya going to find hers next year on her way out the door. She going to find it and might even have a billboard that says it even louder. But y'all, we all have an obligation. So I always say I'm Rosa Martin Luther Malcolm. We can do it any way you want to. I'm going to let you choose, but we going to do it. And so I appreciate y'all for being here.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you all for being here, because I think it's necessary to bring conversations that cross generations, because I want to hear what y'all got to say. So I appreciate you all. It's Mind Matters with Dr. Adrienne, and this is a celebration of mental health awareness for 2024. And so we got to continue to have these conversations. We have to listen to the younger generations. We got to understand how it is that we make them feel, so that we can understand how we need to support them. And so these 3 college student athletes have come to share their testimony about what it's like to be an athlete and to have to protect your own mental health. So if you know a student athlete out there that needs your support, make sure that you listen more than you talk.